from bronze to mythic. If I could only open some rares.
That's freaking terrible.
But we'll work hard to solve the format.
7 wins.
And I'm sure we'll make it there.
All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to Bronze to Mythic, episode 26. This is the series retrospective. We always close out our Bronze to Mythic runs with a retrospective going over our entire run of the format. So like, comment, subscribe. If you missed any episodes, they're all on YouTube, obviously. Again, spoilers. If you haven't watched prior episodes, I'm about to spoil everything for you. This is the end of the format retrospective, so you've been warned. You've been warned. So you can see here, we had a win rate of 64%, which is okay. I would like to have better than that, honestly, but it's fine. We were 112 and 62. It took us 25 drafts to Mythic, and we had 7 win runs. Total play time was 30 hours, and we came in at Mythic, at Mythic something. I don't remember exactly, 3 something. Our peak was 278, but we punted pretty bad our last few matches or whatever, so we were like Mythic 600 or whatever. We can see here, colors. We were blue-red most often. This is all on untap.gg, of course. Download it for yourself. Use my link in the chat or the description. Track all of your games like this. This is free. We were blue-red the most. We were 19 and 11 as a blue-red deck, which is pretty good, honestly. Next, we were blue-white, 11 and 8, which is only okay. Rakdos, we were only like around 50%, which is kind of weird. Mardu, we were 11 and 5. It's funny, actually, Jund. Looks like we were Jund in 2 different drafts, and we crushed both those drafts, which is pretty interesting. We'll go over all the drafts individually afterwards. Jeskai a couple times, green-white twice. One of them was very, very good. One was not. Green-black twice. Mono-black once, which is super cool. Abzan, Orzhov, and X1. These are all small sample sizes. So, but blue-red, I would have thought that, actually. I feel like we didn't draft blue-red that much, but I guess we were a few times. We had Iconoclast a number of times. And let's go back all the way to the beginning here. And we can see up all of our drafts. Our first few drafts went pretty well. You know, you can see the deck will be over here on the left. Our first draft was Rakdos, Misery Shadow, removal spells was pretty good. Emergency Well, just a good solid on deck, honestly. Went 6-3. Honestly, I think we were a little surprised to only go 6-3. But, you know, deck we had like Giga Chad, Soul Guide Lantern. Deck seemed solid, if unexciting. Draft number 2, we were blue-red. And this time went 5 and 3. You can see it was an early draft, so you were playing Rage to the Ground, which is not really a very playable card. I think we took Arcane Proxy earlier, if I remember correctly. Cliff Stomper in a 12 Mountain 2 Island deck. So you're mostly mono red, honestly. Sispear, 4 Dwarven Forge Chanters, kind of our first shot at like the Prowess deck. Was kind of cool, but definitely missed on a few things here and there. I think the deck was only okay, honestly. You know, Thopter wasn't great in our deck and stuff like that. So a little 5-3. Next deck was a 7-win blue-white deck. A blue-white artifact deck, which is interesting. We had Powers Engineer, Vanguards, Doctor Mechanic, a lot of artifacts. Urza, Double Warlords Elite, Mightstones, Urza Command, Quillis Rock. It's a pretty solid looking blue-white artifact deck, which is pretty cool. 2 subjugations. Looks pretty good. Next deck was blue-white soldiers, it looks like. Yeah, 2 tacticians, 2 cohorts. This deck looks pretty good, but only went 3 and 3 with it. I guess our frontliner, our scatter rays didn't look very good. Harvester's a little out of place also. It looks like we didn't really get the low end parts of this deck. 2 cooldowns, but like the curve wasn't low enough, I don't think. You know, 2 cooldowns and a take flight. These are cards that do a similar thing, and they like end the game, but like you don't want to draw too many of those, you know? So I think our curve here wasn't very good, so we didn't do too well. Next up was blue-red with 7 wins, and this deck was awesome. Triple Mindstone Animation, 4 explosions. This was pretty obviously an early format draft because like you shouldn't get 4 of these and 3 of these. It just shouldn't happen. Iconoclast, 2 Swifties, 2 subjugations. Platoon Dispenser on the splash, insanely good rare, super, super cool. We had Rakdos next. We had a Gix. I don't remember this draft, honestly. Gix, Mightstone, Double Corrupt. Yeah, this was another deck where like we're basically monocolored. We were splashing red for a explosion. And that's it, actually. This is just mono black. Double Corrupt mono black deck. Deck was pretty sweet, honestly. I'm a little surprised the deck didn't do better. Splashing for Desk and the thingy. I mean, what's missing here? You know, Boulder Branch is pretty cool. Remorse, Lodestone's kind of I don't know. This deck was pretty good. I don't really know, but 4-3-3. Next was a green-white deck, and we discovered that we didn't like the Spider very much. Double Loran, you know, Rust Goliath's only okay. Paratrooper, just like a kind of middling deck. Triple Opportunist Dissident's pretty good, but like we weren't really ramping into much. We had a lot of cohorts too. I don't know. Deck looks okay, but went 4-3, which is about what an okay deck should do. Mono Black again, this time with Phyrexian Flesh Gorger and Blade Coil Serpent and Corrupt. Went 6-3 with this deck. Triple Butcher. The deck was okay. I think we were lacking a little bit in the early game, honestly. We had the Harvesters and stuff, but like could have used. Actually, we had three Disfigures too. This deck looks pretty good too, honestly. Only 6-3. I don't know. It happens. What are you gonna do? Then we had an is it deck that went 1-3. Scatter Ray, again, a card that's really not impressed me at all. I think this card's pretty bad in this format. Iconoclast is cool. Infantries are okay. Mishra's okay. It looks like this deck has some stinkers in it, honestly. We tried playing Fire Blast. Not a very exciting deck. Pretty mopey. Green White again. This was a Green White ramp deck also. I actually loved this deck, but it didn't end up doing that well. We had Power Stone Engineer, Power Stone Makers, Mass Jade Crafter, Double Loran. Our curve was a little higher than I would have liked. We had Sundering Titans, Skitter Beam. I think we could have been ramping more. If we had more copies of... we didn't even have the 3-drop that makes a Power Stone. So this deck was lacking the low end. It's funny because like I feel like we're seeing a trend here. A lot of these decks were lacking in the low end. And that's what I didn't really learn early on in this format. This format kind of gives you the idea of it. Like, you see cards like, the prototype cards that cost 9 and 10. You're like, oh, cool. This is like a slow, big mana format. It's not. You got to do shit in the early turns or you die. And like we're seeing a recurring theme in these like 4-3, 3-3 early decks where like we just don't have enough early stuff. And I couldn't really tell it at the time because it was still pretty early, but now it's kind of clear that was the issue. So make sure you're taking the cheap stuff. You got to at least get in the board. You can still play a rampy deck, but you got to at least get in the board. You can't just do nothing in the early game. So 4-3 blue-white deck, black-white deck here. Double Go for the Throat. 4 Skull Flayers. The Skull Flayer plan just ended up being only okay. We had some self-mill, but not really enough. Just like not super great, honestly. Just too mopey. It's too many 2-3s, not enough synergy. Green-black deck, going this now. We tried the graveyard deck again, honestly. And this one had more graveyard stuff. Prowler, Steelseeker. I found Alta to be kind of overrated, honestly. It can be really good and can win you the game, but it really requires you to like have a board already. You can't just play it on turn 2 for the same reason. You don't want to be playing it on turn 2 and not affecting the board. So Alta's kind of whatever. We had an Izzet deck that went 6-3. 3 Stern Lessons, Dragon Engine, Skitter Beam. This was our Skitter Beam deck that like kind of needed Skitter Beam to win. This is when we started to do it, like to feel things out a bit. I feel like with this deck where we didn't have any threats. We had removal spells, some ramps, some early blockers. Coastal Bulwark was great because like it's an artifact that blocks early and kind of fills that role. Like we were saying, if you need to do things early, you can't just die. So this is where I feel like this deck was our turning point. This is where we started to turn the corner and kind of like figure the format out. You can see here was a lot of like 4-3, 6-3, 1-3, 3-3, 4-3, 1-3. So yeah, this is like the real middle section we really struggled on that we wasted a lot of drafts in. And I think this was the turning point right here where we found out like, okay, we want to play Bulwark. You can play Stern Lesson, but you got to also play Bulwark and not die. So we went from there on a heater, went 7-2 with this Mardu deck, which is basically just Rakdos, Visions of Phyrexia, splashing for 2 Hero of Dunes. This deck was great. Really, really good. Had the early game, removal spells, Disfigure, the Mutts were great, and then of course the top end as well. Jund was next, same idea, kind of, grindy mid-range deck. Tyrant of Courage is obviously great. Juggernaut. But again, the early game, Prowler, Bodyguard, Rock Hunter, not great, but it blocks at least. Go for the Throat, etc., etc. And our first time playing Stalwart and kind of getting on the Stalwart train. 6-3 with a Jeskai deck. This is mostly mono red splashing for white and blue cards. A lot of cheap stuff here again. Kind of like valuing Refractor higher, staying more open in the drafts. Abzan again. Another Hero of Dunes deck. This is actually the Double Dissident deck. This is actually more of like a green-white deck. Double Dissident was super awesome. Double Power Stone Engineer. Mask is great. Crown was great. This deck was really good, honestly. This is a really, really good, make artifacts, grow stuff deck. We got a blue-white deck here. This was the tilt deck. This draft should never have happened. I was like 9 hours deep, feeling pretty good. I was like, you know what? We'll just do one more draft. It was like 6:30. It was dinner time. I first picked Urza and just like took some rares and tried to build around them and fell into a lot of traps I was falling into early where I was like I just married my first few picks and just didn't really stay open and we went 1-3. Deck was awful, but learned from it. Next deck was Mardu, double statue deck. This deck was actually really, really good, but we punted a bit, honestly. We had double statues. We had a really bad Rakdos deck, which didn't really work out because our deck just was kind of bad. right back in the saddle with this really scrappy, crappy Ogari deck. Just like graveyard beatdown, weird deck with Gix. Just kind of cool. 4-color deck. This is maybe my favorite deck of the draft series, honestly. 4 colors. We stayed super open in the draft. We're splashing Emergency Weld, Iconoclast, splashing everything, Elsewhere Flask, Refractor, Double Statue, a bunch of spells. This deck made great use of cards that aren't that good, like Archaeologist and Repost, but they were really good in this deck because it was a control deck. Mightstone's a bomb. Deck was great. We had Jund last night as well. Another good grindy deck. Good early stuff. Double Stalwart, like 14 lands, worked out really, really well. And then today's deck was very good. We punted 2 of our matches, but whatever. Double Steel Seraph was obviously great, but like lots of artifacts, stayed really open. Stalwarts, cheap stuff, 15 lands, deck was super awesome. So the real lessons I've learned from this format are you gotta interact early and often. It's a pretty trappy format, so don't feel frustrated if you feel like your first few drafts, you're just like, what's going on? Like, why can't I play this cool prototype card or whatever? These Power Stones aren't really working, you know? Make sure you're getting on the board, make sure you're interacting early, and then go from there. So far, I went from kind of hating the format to really, really liking it. There's a lot of cool things you can do. You can be monocolored, you can be 4-colored, you can be 2-colored, synergy decks, artifact decks, all sorts of cool stuff, soldiers. All in all, I'm pretty happy. The format was really, really fun, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot. And I think it's definitely it's a difficult one. It's one you're going to want to have a little time with. Don't be afraid to watch from Bronze and Mythics, listen to Lords Unlimited or some podcast, watch Sam Black or watch Newmont. You know, definitely it's a format you should do a little research in first because you'll learn a lot because it is a challenging format overall. So that's our retrospective. I hope you enjoyed the series. Of course, we made Mythic in 25 drafts. Bronze to Mythic. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. We do this every set. Look for me. Again, please follow the YouTube channel, of course. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit all the buttons and do all the things. And then YouTube stream folks, make sure you follow. And look for our next set. Phyrexia All Be One is our next set. Look for that one. For the off season for Bronze and Mythic, I'll be putting a few drafts up. We'll do drafts. We'll do drafts. Draftsman takes the wheel again, which is a lot of fun, and do a little off-season stuff as well. So I love y'all. Thank you so much, and hope you enjoy the series. Thanks, peace, folks. Let me know your comments in the comments, and peace. Have a good one.